What's up, everybody, and welcome to my review slash story of Pokemon Go Fest. So I went to Pokemon Go Fest 2 or 3 days ago, and I looked on the internet, and there's just a lot of hate going on for this event. People are talking about it like it was the worst thing in the world, and some things about it were very bad, but there was also a lot of good and positive things that came out of it, and people aren't talking about it. One thing in particular that I'm actually surprised I haven't seen anywhere on the internet. So I just wanted to give kind of my story slash review of Pokemon Go Fest, and I think the best way to do that is do a story. I'll just tell you kind of from start to finish my thoughts on Go Fest, some things I think they should have done better, and some things that maybe I hope they do in the next Go Fest, if there is another Go Fest. I think there will be. They have pretty loyal fans. So with that said, let's just hop right in. So I'll start my story the day before Go Fest. Basically, you could get in to Go Fest an hour early if you had this special bracelet. And you got this bracelet from either staying at one of the partnered hotels that they had, or if you had Sprint or Boost Mobile, and you went to one of those stores, a specific store, a day or two before the event and showed up and registered. So me and my brother Clay, who's my partner on this whole journey, we went to the Sprint store right before it closed. I think maybe we got there 40 minutes before they closed. We got our bracelets within 10 minutes of being there. We had the hour early thing, and we were like, okay, we'll go. It starts at 9, the hour early, and it opens to the public, or not the public, but it opens to the other people at 10. So we were like, oh, we'll go at like 9:30. We don't need to be first in line. We're going to be there all day. The event goes until 8 p.m. Like, we're going to be there all day. We don't need a full hour of extra whatever. Let's just get there at 9:30. So we wake up the next day, we do whatever, and we get there 9:30. The line is insane. It's wrapped around, it's wrapped around a block, it crosses the street, it goes down that entire block, it crosses the street, it wraps back around, it goes inside of the park, and there it goes up these stairs, and then we finally get to the back of the line after, 30 plus minutes of walking, trying to find the end of the line. Mind you, this is the early access line. A lot of people apparently got the 1 hour catch thing because there is a whole bunch of people there. And then on top of that, there was another line that was the people that didn't have it, that was longer, and they were going to have to wait until all of us got in. Or at least I believe that's how they did it. And so we finally got in line. We waited however long it was. They started kicking people out of the line that didn't have the 1 hour bonus bracelet because they were taking up a lot of people's time. The line slowly went in, and we got in at 10 something, so past when the 1 hour bonus was supposed to start. That didn't bother me that much. I don't know how much it bothered other people, but I think the problem here was just the organization of the line. We had no clue where the line started or stopped. We didn't know what one was the bracelet line. I kind of made an assumption that the one we were following was, just from the amount of bracelets in that line, but there were people without them. I think Niantic needed more employees on the ground to help people. They needed more people that just knew what was happening, that they could be like, yeah, you need to keep going and you'll find where you're trying to go, etc., etc. Anyway, so we finally get in. It's 10:20, something along those lines. We get in. They search your bag and everything to get in. They take people's umbrellas, which was funny. They had a list of items you can't bring. Umbrellas was one of them, and so many people brought umbrellas. They just had boxes of people's umbrellas that they took because it was supposed to rain. It was supposed to storm, actually. And I understand people bringing umbrellas, but with that many people, like 15,000 plus people all in one park, if they all had an umbrella, it would have been a big problem. So I understand why they didn't let people bring in umbrellas. Also, I don't think they wanted people poking other people by accident or on purpose, I guess. So we got into the park. They searched our bags and everything, and basically you got a QR code. You spun one of the Pokestops at the park and then scanned the code, and then all of a sudden everything worked, and there's all these Pokestops and Pokemon that spawned for you specifically at the event, so that spoofers can't just go to the event and get all the benefits. That was really cool. I liked that. So that's when the problems show up, though, right? They're letting all these people in. We got in fairly early, for the time that we got in. Other people had to wait in that other line for a long time. I think it was still going to noonish. And their event started at, I think the first special event started at 11. So there was people missing the events already because of this line that was so long and so unorganized. But we got in. We were spinning the Pokestops, catching some Pokemon. Nothing too crazy happened. And then they have a stage there. And that's when the CEO of Niantic came out on stage to kind of welcome everybody to GoFest, which should be a big moment. It should be a very positive moment. All these people have paid money to show up here to play this game that he is in charge of, and he just gets booed and chanted at, and it was horrible. Like, it was very, we were kind of in the back of the crowd, which was a big crowd. It was kind of like going to a concert. We were kind of in the back of the crowd, and when they started booing and everything, I tried to start moving up with my brother to the front of the crowd because that's where the cheering and clapping was, and I wanted to be with those people. I didn't want to be with the people booing the CEO. Like, that was not okay, and it made the community look really bad on stream and just in general. Everybody looked really bitter, and that's a theme for my experience with this event is the people there and not so much the event itself. And so they start booing and everything. He comes out and he's like, hey, we know that there's server problems. We're working with Sprint and Verizon, et cetera, to try and get them ironed out. Now, full disclosure, me and my brother both didn't really have problems. We had problems if we tried to connect to other people for things like raids. But as far as catching Pokemon and just like walking around and hatching eggs, all that worked for us. And we have Sprint, and I think that's part of the reason that it worked is Sprint sponsored the event, so I think they were a little more interested in making sure that it worked. Also, I have an Android, and apparently iPhones were having problems. This is all stuff that they explained on stage later in the day. But anyway, everybody's booing, whatever. So we're just checking out the area. They have different lounges. They have an Instinct Lounge, a Valor Lounge, and a Mystic Lounge. We go to the Instinct Lounge because we're both Instinct. And we look at the charging situation. There's a million people in here. There's no way you can get a seat. There's no way you could do anything. There was way too many people at this event. They could have halved it, and it still probably would have been too many people. For their setup, at least. They needed to have 5 of these tents if they wanted to do this. So we go to the Instinct tent. We just check it out. We go to the merchandise booth, which was the first time I was disappointed during the event because I like getting merchandise to events that I go to. I want a t-shirt for a concert that I went to for the tour. I like getting like the exclusive t-shirt that you could only get on that tour, etc. They didn't have any of that. They were selling Go Pluses, which was fine. But then they were selling Instinct, Mystic, and Valor shirts that didn't have any text or anything. It was just the logo on a red, blue, or yellow shirt. And I was like, okay. And then they sold Pikachu hats, and that's basically it. Like, they didn't have, at least that I saw, they didn't have any shirts that were like Chicago Pokemon Go Fest 2017 or a Pikachu with his Chicago skyline in the background, anything like that. And I thought that was really strange and kind of sucked because I was ready to give you money and buy some merchandise. Why wouldn't you have exclusive merchandise? Very strange. So we didn't buy anything. And that's when the first Heracross that we saw spawned. And we just kind of heard rumblings, ooh, Heracross over here, ooh. So we started walking towards it. Eventually I found it and I caught it. And we've been walking around for like an hour or something at this point. But nobody's like freaking out about the Heracross, meaning nobody's like, hey guys, there's a Heracross over here, hey, come over here. Everybody's really to themselves and quiet, and that was a problem that I had with the event. And I don't know if it was just the bitterness of people, but it felt like nobody wanted to announce good Pokemon that were spawning. Everybody just kind of crowded and went in their line and didn't talk to each other and got their Pokemon and left. And that's not how Pokemon Go works when I play. If a Snorlax spawns somewhere, people go, Snorlax over here, everybody come over here. Like, that's part of the fun of Pokemon Go is that excitement of that hive mind trying to catch that one Pokemon that everybody's excited about. And Heracross, obviously being a sort of region exclusive, You would think people would be more excited about that than they were, and they weren't, and that was kind of strange to me. So nobody was like, yay, Heracross, everybody come here. So I was like, hey guys, Heracross is this way, just go straight, you'll find him. Hey, Heracross is this way, as we're like walking away after I already got him. I went into the crowd, I'm like, hey, go that way for Heracross. Like, I'm trying to, there's no like energy going on here, it's just a lot of ugh. So we get Heracross. We spend a lot of time. There's not too much to do in this event, and that was a problem that I had. They had meet and greets with YouTubers, which was great. I didn't actually end up seeing or meeting any of them, even though I like some of them. They had a sprint booth where you could get a special badge if you waited in line for like an hour to try and get it, which we ended up doing later. They had food, and they had tables that were always taken to sit at. And they had photo opportunities with the Pokemon, which was really dumb. They were just clear screens with the Pokemon on them, and you stood behind them and took a picture. I thought they would be like sort of statues of the Pokemon or something that you could actually like pose with and stuff. They were really cheaply made, just screens. And they had the stage with some announcements, and they had hanging out with your fellow teammates in your booth. But there was not too much else to do there, like physically, besides play Pokemon. And the Pokemon things that were going on was Heracross was cool, and the unknowns were cool. Now, the unknowns were way cooler than I realized, but I didn't realize it until I left. We left the day of GoFest like right after it ended, we left. And it turns out that was kind of a mistake, but we didn't know that they were going to do all this stuff to extend it to the rest of Chicago later. So we're just walking around catching whatever, an unknown spawns. And we go and catch it, and it's an H, I think. It turns out that the only unknowns that were spawning spelt Chicago. Unknowns always spawn as letters. So it spelt Chicago and an exclamation point, which is a 3rd gen Pokemon, I believe. But yeah, it spelled Chicago, and I was like, that's really cool. I would have tried to get all of them if I knew that, but nobody's talking that figured that out. And no one on stage said that. Like, that's something cool that you could say on stage. Be like, hey guys, unknowns are spawning. By the way, they spell Chicago. Can you catch them all? Can you complete the word Chicago with your unknowns? And I totally would have. There was 2 unknowns that I actually didn't go after that I could have. That now, looking back on it, I'm upset that I didn't do it because I only got a couple of them and I didn't complete my word. I didn't complete Chicago. So that's something that they should have announced, I feel like. So I'm catching unknowns, spending a lot of time just sitting in shade because it's so hot out. Everybody thought it was going to rain. It ended up being way too hot. Got sunburned, it was very, very hot. So a lot of the time for people was spent sitting in shade and not actually playing the game. And you have a lot of problems just with this event in general. Not Niantic problems, just problems. You're playing a phone game. Your phone's going to die. It uses GPS, all this stuff. Your phone is going to die. So they have that problem. So they have to have like charging stations. Then if you put a lot of people in the same area that are using their phone and their GPS, it starts messing up everybody else's GPS and phone. And that's where you get problems like they had. Also, it hurts the servers on Niantic side. And that's exactly what happened. I was surprised that happened because I thought they were going to at least have Wi-Fi, like really good Wi-Fi around the whole park that everybody could connect to kind of fix the Sprint, Verizon, T-Mobile problems, and they didn't. So that's totally on Niantic. And then it's kind of this weird thing where it's a bunch of introverts all together looking at their phone, trying to navigate and just like bumping into each other and not talking. So those are the 3 like problems that you have with just this in general. And I don't think Niantic did a good job supplying the chargers, fixing the servers and the Wi-Fi problems, and getting people to talk about the event and try and like complete challenges together or anything like that. The challenges, for people who don't know, were basically catch X water Pokemon, X electric, X rock, X, all the stuff, and you get a bonus for each one that you complete and you catch enough of. But nobody knew what the quota was, and there was a screen that would pop up every once in a while and show you how well you're doing, but like it kept changing and nobody could follow it. And it seems like Niantic employees just faked it, which is what I expected. They're not going to be like, oh, you didn't get anything, you guys suck, because that's what would have happened because there were so many people who couldn't connect to the game there. But like I said, I connected. I can only speak from my own experience, and I had fun. So we walk around, we get the unknowns, we get some food, we're just kind of hanging out, and then that became the theme. Announcements would come out. they said, we're sorry, we'll refund you. There was all these chants, refund us at the stage. It was so obnoxious. There's all these people chanting, we want a refund or refund us, whatever they were chanting at the stage. And Niantic came out and were like, hey, we're giving anybody who wants it a refund, and everybody's getting $100 Pokecoins into their account. It'll be dropped into their account. So that's really cool. So right now I'm already having fun at this event, plus I get 100 Pokecoins and my money back for the event. I'm like, this is great. Like I'm having a very good time. Everybody's still bitter. People are booing getting the free money and stuff. And it's like, it's a $30 event. I don't know what to tell you. Like, people were just so spiteful there, and that's what hurt the event for me, is just this anger that people had. And it did get better when they were like, okay, the radius of all these spawns and basically the event, the special Pokestops that have 2k eggs that hatch 10k Pokemon, which was fine, all that stuff is 2 miles out from the park, so you can leave and go play on your own, still get your bonuses, still get your refund, and not hurt the internet as much as the people that are actually enjoying themselves and want to stay in the park. So that cleared out a lot of the park, and it got a lot better after that. So then a problem, we're playing, our phones get down to like 20%. We want to make sure we have our phones up because there's going to be legendary Pokemon here. So we charge our phones, we sit in the shade, we charge our phones, we go play for a little. We charge our phones, we sit in the shade. That became the cycle. And when it was about to end, or there was only a couple hours left, it became sit in the Instinct Lounge. We finally got a seat. Sit in the Instinct Lounge, charge our phone, and just wait for them to announce the legendaries, because I can go play in Chicago when they do it, and all I want to do is battle these legendaries and leave. And that was a lot of people's mentality for this. You have to realize we've been there for like 9 hours at that point in the sun, so it's just way too hot. And it did I actually would have liked some fans, some of those mist fans or something to like help beat the heat there, because it was like pass out very hot there, especially when you were crowded with all the people. So we just kind of waited, talked to some people at the Instinct Lounge that were cool, and they said, all right, final announcement, final challenge announcement. So we go there. Everybody's at the stage waiting for this final announcement. We all think it's legendary raids. We all assume it's legendary raids, right? So we're sitting there, we're standing there, I guess, and we're listening, and they're like, okay, the first legendary Pokemon's going to be Lugia, and everybody kind of cheers. And it's going to be dropped into everyone's account. So you're not actually doing the raids, you just get it for free. And I do think that was their plan from the start, but I also think they plan to launch the raids as well. But they didn't want to do it because they didn't want the people whose phones weren't working to be upset that they were going to miss out on the raids. So they were just like, we're dropping Lugia into everyone's account. As of right now, it is Monday. I don't have my Lugia yet. I imagine it'll come tonight when the bonuses wear off from that event, and you can no longer like scan your QR codes to get in, because they extended all that stuff to Monday and 2 miles outside of the park. But so yeah, everybody got a Lugia. That made people pretty excited. Then, even though it made people pretty excited, but they kind of backhanded it by releasing the legendary raids later that day, like hours later. When we were on our ride home, they released the legendary raids, and if you were in Chicago, you had 100% catch rate of them, which is cool. I think that's a cool way to show your respect for the people who went to your event. I think that's awesome, but at the same time, we didn't even get our Lugias yet, so like we weren't the first ones in the world to even get the legendaries, even though we went to the Go Fest, and I thought that was kind of crappy. So anyway, then they announced the placings of the teams. And literally my favorite moment of the event. In third place is everybody. Instinct! And then, of course, it was Instinct. And everybody in Instinct went crazy cheering. It was hilarious. It's like they were going for third place. And that was all they knew they could get. And they were very satisfied to get it. They were super happy. And that was hilarious because as an Instinct member, I understand that feeling. So then they said, and second place is Valor, first place is Mystic, and since Mystic was first place, Articuno is going to be one of the first legendary Pokemon revealed. That's awesome. You know what would have been cool? If you announced that at the start. Like, you come out on stage at the beginning of GoFest and go, by the way, the team who does the best today's legendary bird will be released at the end of the day. That would have made people go crazy and actually try during the event. Instinct might have got second place if you did that. Like, I just think that they messed up by keeping that a secret, because you got to this point where everybody just assumed there was going to be a Lugia raid at the end of the day and just sat there and charged their phone instead of actually playing. And I think that if you announced earlier, hey, there's actually a bonus for winning this, and it's that your legendary bird comes out, people would have tried so much harder to try and win this event. I know I would have, and I know most of the people I talked to there would have as well. So anyway, Articuno's coming out. That's exciting. Within 48 hours, they say, okay. Then the park starts clearing out because the event's basically over. They're like, you are free to go around the 2-mile radius, hang out in the park, whatever, have a good day, bye. So we stayed in the park for probably another hour. We did, we got the badge from the sprint thing, and we did the raids. Now, this is something important that I wanted to bring up. The raids were free. You didn't need a raid pass to do the raids. Every raid would spawn, I think there were 7 gyms. That might be wrong, but I think there were 7 gyms. And interestingly enough, all the lounges got an extra gym at the last hour of the event, which I think was supposed to be for legendaries to make it less crowded, but they didn't actually end up doing the legendary raids. So all this 7 gyms, and these raids would spawn. I think they were 15-minute long raids, and it would be like all Tyrannitars. So they're all Tyrannitars, and they're all free to do these raids. And you could just do one, go to the next one, do one, go to the next one, do one. You wouldn't be able to get into all of them because you don't have enough time. But you could do a bunch of them, and they were free. And I thought that was so cool that they didn't make you use raid passes, because I was worried I was going to have to buy raid passes to do all the raids and fun stuff there. And they didn't require that. And then an hour later, they'd all be Charizards. And then an hour later, they'd all be Lapras. And an hour later, they'd all be, Venusaur or whatever. And they went through all the level 4 characters, and they just kind of cycled. And that was so cool that it was free to do those raids, and we didn't have to purchase anything while we were there. Once again, another thing I feel like they should have announced. They might have announced that before I got in, to be fair, but I feel like that's a big announcement that you should reiterate a couple times. So that was really cool. So we did some raids, we got our badge, and then basically we left. And that was our experience at GoFest. Like, there's so many things that I feel like they should have done. I feel like they needed to play to their crowd a little bit more. Your crowd is your hardcore fan base. They're the people that support you the most, similar to PlayStation doing PlayStation Experience. They aren't talking to developers and people. They're talking to the fans, and they're like, here's all our weird niche games and things that only PlayStation gamers care about. And that's what they needed to do. I think they should have given people an exclusive something besides a badge. Like, even if it was an in-game shirt, or even if it was a special Pikachu that you could only get at this event, like something that doesn't give you an advantage over other people, just gives you, it just lets people know that you were there, basically. That would have been nice. I also honestly wish they did like a Q&A thing. Now I don't, because the fans were being kind of jerks, and they threw a water bottle at somebody on stage. Like, that's not cool. But it would have been nice if this all went well to do a Q&A and people just be like, so, hey, when's Gen 3 coming out? And they kind of don't give you a correct answer, and they stumble around the question, and then somebody else comes up and they're like, what was your idea when you designed this? And they can answer that question. Make it more about the fans and less about this one thing, which was legendary Pokemon that everybody knew was coming, and we just got them kind of for free and didn't have to do anything. Like, the people that live in Chicago got it best because they didn't have to pay for the event, and then after the event, the legendary raids went up before we got ours, and the catch rate was 100% in Chicago, and they just got, I'm looking at people's phones screenshots, and they just have tons of Articunos and Lugias, and it's like what? I mean, that doesn't seem fair to the people at GoFest. It was just a little strange. So yeah, we get refunded, we get the Pokecoins, we get all that, but I just think that they needed to do more stuff for the fans and have a few more things to do on the ground or have less people, because it was crowded, it was hot, and it just felt like they needed more Niantic employees to kind of help people out and bring this mess together. But overall, I enjoyed my time there. I had fun. I think it is a little bit of a bummer that they released the raids before we got them. I think that that's kind of a crappy thing to do, that people, in California had Lugias before we get ours. I really hope that ours is 100% IV Lugia, but we'll see. On our drive home, they announced all that stuff. Moltres and Zapdos are coming soon, they announced. I enjoyed the event. My phone worked through 95% of it. I caught Unknown, I caught Heracross. I completed my Pokédex while I was there, which was really cool. And then the next day, I found an Articuno raid, and I got him first try, which was insane. So now my Pokédex is done again, assuming I get this Lugia that they're giving out. So, I had a lot of fun there, and I enjoyed it. But like I said, my favorite thing, Pokemon Go, is two things to me. It's 50% a kind of mediocre game where you just throw Pokeballs and you walk around and kind of exercise and do all that. And then it's 50% the people that I meet playing the mediocre game and just their excitement when something spawns and telling stories about how this Tyranitar got away from them. Or just yesterday when we did my first Articuno raid, we walked up on 9 people all huddled around this area trying to take him down, and they were so close. If they had another 10 seconds, they would have done it. And me and my brother walked up and we're like, hey, did you guys beat the raid yet? And they're like, no, we're so close. This was our second try. And I was like, all right, we can do this. And we all got together and we were able to beat it first try then. And then we're talking, sharing our experiences, laughing, having a good time. 2 of the people catch it. They're like, woohoo. I'm talking to my brother because it ran away from him. I'm like, it's okay, we'll go to another one. I look down at my phone and I caught it. And I'm like, oh, I got Articuno, and then everybody's high-fiving and having a good time, and there was none of that at GoFest. There was none of the 50% social fun part of the game. It was just miserable people making it worse for everybody else that was semi-enjoying it, and that was my problem. I don't want to blame too much. It is Niantic's fault that they didn't prepare better for this, and it's unfortunate that they didn't, but, it's also the people's fault that they responded the way that they did. So, anyway, GoFest, I thought it was fun. Is it worth $30? Absolutely. If you could get in there for $30, yeah. If you have to scalp tickets for, over 100, probably not, especially if you have to travel a lot to get there and you, can't get there by car or something. It's probably going to end up being too expensive unless you're a huge Pokemon Go fan. But as, a Pokemon Go fan who could drive there, and I thought it was fine. And if you get that $30 ticket, yeah, definitely. Especially because they give you $100 in coins and $30 back. So you got in for free. So whatever. But anyway, that's my review of the Pokemon Go Fest. If you went to the festival, please let me know how your experience was, because all I see online is disaster and ruin, and I really didn't have that experience. I thought it was fun. So yeah, let me know down below how you thought of it, or if you watched that terrible live stream that they did. I don't know why they did that. But anyway, that's it for this review of Pokemon Go Fest. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that jazz, and I will speak with you next time.